I have signed 43 decrees since the morning I was told Saren had betrayed the pack. I remember the number because I counted them once, in the dark, trying to understand how a king could keep moving after the ground had shifted beneath him. 43 acts of governance, new grazing rights along the northern ridge, a trade agreement with the Halvanmoor clans, a border garrison doubled against spring raiders. The pack kept running, as packs do, and I kept my face still and my voice level, and I told myself the stillness meant I had made peace with it. My wolf, Kel, knew otherwise. He was old, older than most wolves, bound to a living alpha, gray at the muzzle and slow on cold mornings. But his instincts had never once been wrong in the 20 years I had held the alpha bond with him. He had stood at my shoulder through 3 border wars and 1 succession crisis and never shown me uncertainty. After the day Saren was escorted to the eastern gate and the doors were barred behind her, Kale sat down in my chamber and did not move for 2 days. My healer said it was grief. I said nothing because I was not sure the healer was wrong. I should explain what I believed at the time. David was my second. He had served my father before me, and I trusted him the way a man trusts the floor under his feet, without thinking, because it had never given way. When he brought me the testimony, 3 witnesses in writing, accounts describing Saren passing pack information to a rival delegation from the Varenholt clans, I read the documents twice and felt something cold settle in my chest. I questioned her. She denied it. She was calm in the way that people are calm when they have accepted that they will not be believed, and I did not understand that then. I read the denial as composure. I should have read it as a woman who had already weighed the situation and found that no protest she could make would change it. I signed the expulsion order on a Tuesday. The snow was heavy that week, I remember that too. For the first year, Kale slept through the nights as he always had, and I told myself he had adjusted. Then in the second winter, I noticed he was waking before dawn and standing at the eastern window. Not anxious, not distressed. Simply standing there, ears forward, watching the road as if waiting for someone he expected to return. I did not follow his meaning. I told myself he was old and given to strange habits. In the third year, he began walking, not pacing, walking, deliberate, directional in the evenings after the council fires were banked. He would leave my chamber, move through the keep's lower passages, out through the eastern courtyard, and stop at the road. Every night for 11 nights he did this, and every night I followed him, because a king who ignores what his bond wolf is trying to tell him is a fool, and I had already been a fool once and did not intend to repeat it. On the 12th night, he did not stop at the road. He kept walking. I followed him through the snow, 2 of my guard trailing at distance, and Kale moved with a purpose I had not seen in him in years. Steady, unhurried, absolutely certain. We walked for 2 hours before I understood that we were not circling back. The border village of Ashven was not a place I had visited. Small, self-sufficient, a cluster of stone houses in the valley below the eastern pass, the kind of settlement that appears on maps as a dot and on tax ledgers as a line. It took us 3 days to reach it, riding the second day when Kale's pace told me the destination was real and not merely the old wolf's wandering. My guard captain, Brennan, rode beside me and said nothing, because Brennan had learned over years of service that when the alpha follows his wolf in silence, the silence is to be respected. We arrived at dusk. Kale stopped at a cottage at the village's northern edge. It was well kept, shutters in good repair, a small stack of split wood beside the door, dried herb bundles hanging in the window. A healer's cottage, I saw. The kind of place where the village came with injuries and fevers, and the particular quiet griefs that do not announce themselves. Kale sat down at the threshold and looked at me. The door opened before I could knock. She did not expect me. I saw that clearly. The momentary stillness, the slight adjustment of breath, the way her hands, which had been holding a cloth, went very still at her sides. She looked at me the way a person looks at something they had stopped allowing themselves to hope for. She did not look afraid. Rael, she said, not. My king. Just my name, said quietly. The way someone says a name they have turned over in their mind often enough that it no longer startles them. I felt the mate mark burn. It was not gradual and it was not subtle. It was a blaze across both wrists simultaneously, the gold so bright it lit the snow around us, and I heard Brennan draw a sharp breath behind me. I looked down at my wrists, then at hers, and the mark was identical. The same interlock pattern, the same light. I had worn the alpha bond for 20 years. I had never felt anything like it. She looked at the mark on her wrist and then at me, and her expression was not triumph, and it was not vindication. It was something quieter and more complicated. She said, I wondered if this would happen when you came. You knew I was coming? Kale has been facing east every dawn for 3 years, she said. I could feel it some mornings. I did not know what to do with that, so I kept working. 3 years. She had known the way bondmates sometimes know things across any distance, and she had not sent word, had not demanded anything, had simply continued. Quietly, faithfully, keeping the cottage and tending the village and waiting with the particular patience of someone who has decided that if a thing is real, it will find its own way home. I felt the weight of 43 decrees settle on me all at once. There was testimony, I said. I know what the testimony said. 3 witnesses. Davin presented. I stopped. I heard, as I said it, what I had not heard 3 years ago when I should have. Davin had presented the documents. Davin had arranged the witnesses. Davin had also, in the months following Saren's expulsion, introduced me to the daughter of the Halvanmore clan chief. A sound political match, he'd explained, which would secure the northern trade agreements and strengthen the garrison arrangements. I had been moving toward formalizing that match. I was 2 days from signing the papers when Cale walked east and did not turn around. I looked at Brennan. Brennan looked back at me steadily. He had been present at both the original testimony and every council session since. He had said nothing at the time. I understood now, from his expression, that he had doubted and had not known what to do with the doubt, and that this was something I would need to sit with for a long time. Come back to Caldenville, I said to Saren. Come back and let me undo it properly. In front of the council, with Davin present. She was quiet for a moment. Cale at her feet. Had not moved since she opened the door. His tail moved once slowly. Why? She said. Not confrontationally, genuinely. The way she had always asked questions straight and without pretense. What would be undone? The 3 years are not undone. No, I said. They are not. Nothing I do will undo them. She watched me. Her expression was searching and calm, and I had the sense she was making a real decision, not a ceremonial one. The mark on her wrist pulsed gently in the cold air, and I felt it answer in my own. A steady warmth, like a coal that has been banked and covered against wind, and has waited, quiet and alive, for someone to finally uncover it. All right, she said at last. I knelt in the snow at her threshold. I heard my 2 guards shift and then go still, and I did not care what it looked like. Behind her in the cottage, the village healer, an old woman who had clearly appeared in the doorway to see what the commotion was, stared at an alpha king on his knees in the snow and did not speak. Saren, I said, before these witnesses, you are my fated mate, and the mate mark has confirmed it. I am naming you Luna of Caldenvale. You are owed every honor the pack can give, and you will have it. I am asking, not commanding. She looked at me on my knees in the snow with that same searching expression. Then something in her face settled. Not soft-fund, exactly, but settled like a question that has received its answer and can finally be set down. Get up, she said. You will freeze. I rose. She held my gaze steadily. I will come to Caldenville, she said. I will stand before the council, but understand that I am coming for my own sake, not to watch anyone be punished. I want it on record what happened. After that, I would like to begin. Begin, I repeated. We have lost 3 years, she said simply. I would like to stop losing them. Brennan requested I let him ride ahead to have Davin present at the Keep's council hall when we arrived. I gave my permission and told him to bring the original witness documents from the archive. He rode through the night. What followed? I will only say this, the documents, when compared against Davin's own correspondence, found in his private records by the Keep's archivist that same morning, told the story that Saren had always been telling. 2 of the 3 witnesses were men who held supply contracts that Davin controlled. The third was his own cousin. The forgery was not sophisticated. It had not needed to be, because no one had looked for it at the time. I had not looked for it at the time. Davin said nothing when the documents were laid before him. He had been my second for 11 years. He looked at the table and did not speak, and I understood that there is a kind of man who does a terrible thing for what he tells himself are practical reasons, and who has no language for himself when the practical reasons are stripped away. He was removed from his post before noon. I will not pretend the council's session was comfortable. It was not. There were questions that deserved full answers and several that had no good ones, and Saren sat through all of it with her hands folded and her expression clear, and when it was done, she simply nodded as if ticking off a task on a list. Afterward, in the eastern courtyard, in the last of the afternoon light, I stood beside her and said, "You were remarkably composed in there." "I have had 3 years to compose myself," she said dryly. I looked at her. She was watching the mountains to the east, the road she had come by, the road she knew too well. After a moment, she said, without turning, "I am not going to tell you it is fine. It is not fine, and I think you already know that." "I know it," I said. "Good," she said. "Then we can start from an honest place." Cale moved between us and sat down with the satisfied finality of a wolf who has completed a task he was always going to complete, whatever it cost. Saren looked down at him, and the sternness around her mouth eased, and she reached down and set her hand gently on the gray head. He walked east for 3 years, she said. He did. Stubborn animal. He gets it from me, I said. She looked up at that, and for the first time since I had arrived at her cottage door, she almost smiled. The pack that had ridden with me was assembled in the courtyard. When Saren stood and they saw the mate mark on her wrist, still bright in the cold air, they came to their knees without being asked. She looked at them and then at me, and I saw her absorb the reality of it. Not the ceremony, but the fact of it. The weight and the warmth of being claimed not by force, but by truth, after everything. All right, she said again quietly. I have signed 4 decrees since that afternoon. Davin's replacement. A review of all testimony-based expulsions in the past 5 years. Ordered and thorough. A formal record of Saren's Luna status and the circumstances of her return. And one more, a small amendment to the Pack's evidentiary law, the kind of procedural change that does not make history but prevents it from repeating. Saren read that last one herself before I set my seal to it. She said it was thorough. She is not an easy woman to impress. I find that I would rather spend the rest of my life trying than spend another 3 years being thorough at the wrong things. Kale sleeps through the nights now and does not stand at the window. I notice this every morning, and every morning I am grateful for an old gray wolf who knew long before I did that faithful things deserve to be found.